Hi, Pastor George here with My Guns and My Religion, and we're joined once again with our friend Joshua Prince from Prince Law. How you doing, Josh?
Doing well, Pastor George. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. You know, it's a great day to be a patriot. And you know what, Josh, in the news recently, there's been a lot of discussion about castle doctrine, stand your ground laws. There's people who would like to they'd like to have those laws removed from the books in the 20 different states that the stand your ground law is law in right now. Can you tell us the difference between the castle doctrine and the stand your ground law?
Sure, absolutely. With a castle doctrine, it's dealing with your right to use force in your home because your home is considered your castle. Stand your ground generally deals with whether or not you have a duty to retreat when you're out in public.
Okay, so when we're in a situation where I guess there's 20 states now that have a stand your ground type law, then if I'm out in public, I don't have a necessary duty to retreat. Does that mean that I can just walk up to somebody and shoot them?
No, it clearly does not. It just means that when you're out in public, if there is a threat to yourself or someone else, you do not have a duty to retreat. You can actually stand in the shoes of a third person, provided that you're there at the location that you're at legally, that your firearm is legal, and that there is a risk of serious bodily harm or death to you or that third party.
Could you give us a real-world example, maybe, you know, sort of a make-believe, a supposed kind of thing that might come into play with?
Sure, you might be out in public at a mall, and someone comes in and starts shooting. You may be able to retreat safely, but maybe you have your license to carry firearms and you're concealed carrying on your person or open carrying, and you want to limit that threat to make sure that no other innocents are killed. You would have the right to stand in the shoes of those people who are being injured and defend them as if you were them, even though you would have the ability to potentially retreat safely. The problem with retreating safely is we never know until after the fact whether you would truly be able to retreat safely.
So, by extrapolation, let's say I was a patron in the Aurora, Colorado cinema in that tragic shooting, and I don't know if there's a stand your ground law in Colorado or not, but if there was a stand your ground law, excuse me, if there was not a stand your ground law in Colorado and I could have gotten out of the movie theater, I would have had to, I couldn't have returned fire on the shooter?
Generally speaking, it's always going to depend on exactly what the laws of that state say, but yes, if you had a duty to retreat and you could do so safely without a stand your ground doctrine, you would have to retreat.
So in summation, a stand your ground law is simply a way to avert tragedies, which we as, you know, caring people who are legally and responsibly armed can do. Josh, I want to thank you so much once again for being on one of our interviews. And why don't you give a plug to the firm?
My pleasure. My firm is Prince Law Offices PC, and we have a division called the Firearms Industry Consulting Group that just handles all the state and federal issues relating to firearms.
And where can they find you? What's your website?
Website is www.princelaw.com, or the Firearms Industry Consulting Group's website is www.firearmsindustryconsultinggroup.com.
Again, Josh, thank you so much for being with us on another interview. And for all you guys out there, keep your powder dry and Mullen Law.